Tap your heels together 3 times. And think to yourself, there's no place like home. There's no place like home. There's no place like home.
Now, homesickness is the next question.
Oh, I just want home-cooked meal.
Sometimes I miss some things.
I've been here so long, I don't think I would know how to live in the States anymore.
I've always looked for what's next.
You'll be okay.
Hello and welcome to JQNA Season 1, Episode 4, There's No Place Like Home. I'm your host, Catherine. Homesickness is a very interesting topic because it's something that you really can't define and you really can't pinpoint who will experience homesickness, why they will, or when they will. You can't even define if someone will experience homesickness. With the nature of this podcast being to hear the experiences of multiple people discussing a particular topic, homesickness seems like the perfect thing to discuss, especially if people are willing to discuss a bit of their backgrounds, which is the case with our guests here today. For me, homesickness has never been a problem, and I don't ever foresee it being a problem in the future. There's a few reasons that I believe this to be true, although I can't say definitively why I've never experienced homesickness or what I may have done to prevent it. What I can say is this. Although I can't describe my life prior to Japan or my life in Japan as anywhere near perfect, it was far from what some people expect of those who don't experience homesickness. I didn't leave a horrible life behind. It wasn't that I didn't fit in, and it wasn't that I lacked emotion or feeling about anything I left behind. Although it is true that I knew Massachusetts was not the place I wanted to live the rest of my life, there really was no particular reason other than getting married and moving with my husband to Japan for me to leave. I just knew that I didn't really want to be like the rest of my family, living in Massachusetts in the same neighborhood for the rest of my life. This lack of negativity is something that often puzzles people when I tell them that I'm not homesick. I think this is because it's more socially acceptable to long for and miss family and friends. But this just isn't the case for everyone. And for me, it's become less and less of the case the longer I live in Japan. I've been here 10 years now, as you've heard in previous episodes. And although some people don't like to hear it, when I define a place as home, it is, in fact, Japan. This is not just because Japan is where I live right now, but also because Japan is where everything that you would define as home is for me. My husband is here. My work is here. My car, my dogs, everything from the physical house all the way down to those things that are most familiar to me are here in Japan. I unfortunately can't even say that for the neighborhood that I once called home. Most of the places that I used to love and that I knew are now nothing more than a memory. Businesses close, people move, and the place that once was home is an idea. That's why, for me, I'd imagine homesickness isn't a problem. Because I am home. I go home every day, and I experience the things that make me feel home all the time. The second part of the question for today's episode was, what would you tell someone who is experiencing what you experience? What advice would you give to cope with homesickness? Or if you're not experiencing homesickness, what would you tell someone who is like you and doesn't? If I had the opportunity to talk to anybody who wasn't experiencing homesickness and to tell them my thoughts or what I think they should know, it would be that not experiencing homesickness is just fine. I wish there was someone to tell me that when I was going through some rough times a few years ago, because so many people I met and told that Japan felt like home, or that I did not miss anything in particular from home, because I truly don't. They made me feel as though there was something wrong with me. And it took me some time to realize that my experience of feeling like Japan is home is just as valid as someone's experiencing homesickness. So that's what I would like to share with anyone who might be listening to this who feels like I do. But now let's hear from some other people. There are a number of great stories in this episode, and I really hope that you enjoy.
Homesickness.